from the belief in the last day. Belief in the Qadar. And he brings 4 different levels, as the ulama mentioned, 4 different levels to belief in al-Qadar. Belief in al-Qadar, the 6th pillar, al-Iman, belief in the Qadar, the good and the bad of it. And this came in the same Hadith of Jibril. The Prophet ﷺ mentioned the 6 pillars. He said, "Wal imanu bil qadri khayrihi wa sharrihi." And belief in, let's say, the divine decree, that everything happens for a reason. The good things that happen and the bad things that happen. That is from the decree of Allah. It's not by accident. It's not because a black cat ran in front of you. It's not because we used to say you split the pole. You got to go back around the light pole. It's not because the horoscope says it, or the gypsy with the ball, the crystal ball, because the gypsy said it, or the horoscopes in the newspaper, but everything is by the decree of Allah. That Allah decreed everything, and He had knowledge of everything. And this is from al-Iman bil-Qadri khayrihi wa sharrihi. Those things that we see to be good, and those things that might be bitter to us. Death, losing close friends or family members, it might be bitter to us, but we believe that it's from the decree of Allah Jalla wa Ala, that it's not accidental, not that an accident can't happen. We're talking about death, that Allah knows every single thing that happened. So he says, firstly, from the belief, and he mentions numerous things. Al-Iman bi-ilm Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala al-azali as-sabit bi kulli ma yakun. That Allah had knowledge of everything. Everything of how it was and what it will be. There's nothing that escapes Allah's knowledge, not in the past or in the future. He says, وَأَنَّهُ تَبَارَكَ وَتَعَالَى أَحَاطَ بِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ عِلْمًا. And that His knowledge encompasses everything. Nothing escapes the knowledge of Allah. وَأَحْصَى كُلَّ شَيْءٍ عَدَدًا. And He has knowledge of the numbers of everything. Raindrops, leaves falling from the tree, creatures in the ground, creatures in the sea. That Allah has full knowledge of everything. Nothing escapes the knowledge of Allah. And he mentions other things, but he mentions here the 4 levels of belief in the Qadr. The 4 levels of belief in the divine decree. The first thing is to believe al-Imanu bil-ilm, knowledge. To believe that Allah has knowledge of everything that happens. What it was, what it will be. If it didn't happen, if it did happen, He would have knowledge of what would have happened. Nothing escapes Allah's knowledge. And that He has knowledge of everything. So the first level of believing in the Qadr, the divine decree, is that Allah has knowledge of everything. Allah has knowledge of everything. Everything in the past, everything in the future. Knowledge has no limit. That, okay, He didn't know it He only knew starting from here. La. Allah's knowledge, He has knowledge of everything that would have happened, everything that will happen. And when we have this belief, we understand that when something happens, we understand, okay, Allah knows it happens, and it happened due to Allah's plan. Say God had a plan. Right? God had a plan. That type of statement is that Allah has knowledge of everything. عَلِمَ أَزَلًا مَا كَانَ وَمَا سَيَكُونَ. He had knowledge of anything previously and anything that will happen in the future. طيب. The second level, al-Imanu bil-Kitaba. To believe that Allah is written in a book. Everything has been written in a book. Everything has been written in a book. مَقَادِرَ الْخَلَائِقِ وَأَفْعَالِ الْعِبَادِ. So a person's actions are already written in a book. Everything is written in a book. Allah said in the Quran, إِنَّ ذَلِكَ فِي كِتَابٍ إِنَّ ذَلِكَ عَلَى اللَّهِ يَسِيرٌ. in Surah Al-Hajj, ayah 70. He said that everything is written in a book, and that's easy for Allah. It's easy for Allah because nothing escapes His knowledge. So it's easy for Allah to have knowledge of all the actions of all of His slaves, of all of His creation, and put them in a book, even before they were created. The actions of the slaves are recorded in the book even before they were created. And that comes in a hadith. It's a statement of the Prophet ﷺ. أنه قال كتب الله مقادير الخلائق قبل أن يخلق السماوات والأرض ب50,000 سنة. Everything was written in a book 50,000 years before Allah created the heavens and the earth. 50,000 years before the heavens and the earth was created, the actions of the slaves, of the people, were already written in a book. So Allah has knowledge of everything that happens. We're talking about the decree. Everything is written, everything happens for a reason. This is what we believe. Allah has knowledge of everything. Everything is written in the book. So nothing happens by accident where a person says, why me? Or why did he or she go so young? قَدَّرَ اللَّهُ مَا شَاءَ فَعَلَ. Everything is by the decree of Allah. Allah does what He wills. And we believe that it's already written. We don't know when we're going to die, but we already know that Allah has a plan. Everything is written. It's maktub. The small things we do and the big things we do, everything is written. So from the belief, as the Prophet ﷺ said in that hadith, that the things for the creation were written 50,000 years before the heavens and the earth were created. And that hadith is in Sahih Muslim. أخرجه Muslim. طيب. So the first level of belief in the divine decree is knowledge. Allah has knowledge of everything. The second level is that everything is written. Everything has been written in the Lawh al-Mahfuz. Everything has been written in a book. And as the Prophet ﷺ said, it was written in that book 50,000 years before Allah created the heavens and the earth, which shows Allah's extensive knowledge, that Allah has knowledge of everything. After that, the third level, al-Mashi'ah, that everything happens by the will of Allah. Nothing escapes Allah's will, whether it's good or bad. Everything happens by the will of Allah. Al-Mashi'ah. مَا شَاءَ اللَّهُ كَانَ وَمَا لَمْ يَشَاء لَمْ يَكُنْ. Whatever Allah wills, it's going to happen. If Allah doesn't will for it to happen, it's not going to happen. We're not lucky. We're not lucky. Alhamdulillah. قَدَرَ اللَّهُ مَا شَاءَ فَعَلَ. Allah decreed this for me. Alhamdulillah. And it could be, as the Prophet ﷺ said, خَيْرِهِ وَشَرِّهِ. It could be good, and sometimes it could be bitter. But when bitter things happen to us, or something hard happens, we have to have tawakkul. We have to depend on Allah, return to Allah. We have to believe this. The Qadar is serious. We have to believe that everything happens due to Allah's decree, due to Allah's will. So He says that if Allah will for it, it's going to happen. If He didn't will for it, it's not going to happen. As Allah said in the Quran, وَمَا تَشَاءُونَ إِلَّا أَن يَشَاءَ اللَّهُ رَبُّ الْعَالَمِينَ. Surah Al-Takwir, ayat 29. Al-Takwir, ayat 29. Allah said, وَمَا تَشَاءُونَ إِلَّا أَن يَشَاءَ اللَّهُ. And you don't will anything except that Allah wills. رَبُّ الْعَالَمِينَ, the Lord of mankind. Nothing happens except by Allah's permission. Nothing happens outside of Allah's will. Everything that happens is from the will of Allah. And the fourth level, al-martabatu al-rabi'a, martabatu al-khalq wal-ijad, that Allah created everything. قال تعالى, Allah said, وَاللَّهُ خَلَقَكُمْ وَمَا تَعْمَلُونَ. Allah said, and Allah created you and that which you do, even the actions of the slaves are created. Surah Al-Fussilat, Surah Al-Safat, ayat 96. And Allah said, Allahu khaliqu kulli shay'in, that Allah is the creator of everything. Allah is the creator of everything. So if we know that Allah had knowledge of everything, everything is written in the book, everything happens by the will of Allah. Allah is the creator of everything, all the creation and their actions. So when something happens, we understand that it's not haphazard. It's not by accident. It's not luck. It's not just bad luck. He caught a bad one. Qadar Allah. Qadar Allahu ma shafa'a. That Allah decreed that this would happen at this point in time, 50,000 years before the heavens and the earth were created. And therefore, a person is able to deal with difficulties a little easier if they have this knowledge that Allah mentioned in the Quran, the Prophet ﷺ mentioned in the Sunnah. So this iman yuthmiru fil abd husna iqbalin ala Allah. When a person understands this, they return to Allah. They understand, okay, that Allah is in total control. Nothing happens outside of Allah's will. Allah has knowledge of everything that's going to happen, everything that did happen. Nothing escapes Allah's knowledge. Allah is the creator of everything. So I'm under Allah's will. Therefore, a person behaves in a certain way, and therefore he constantly, as he says, سُؤَالٍ دَائِمًا تُوَجُّهًا إِلَى اللَّهِ بِأَنْ يُثَبِّتَ الْعَبْدَ. And Allah, if we understand this, we should constantly be asking Allah to make us firm upon His obedience, to make us firm, to keep us firm and steady upon obedience to Allah. وَأَنْ لَا يَزِيغُ قَلْبَهُ وَأَنْ يُصْلِحَهُ. And a person should make dua that Allah does not divert their heart away from the straight path. And a person should constantly make dua that Allah keeps them on the straight path. In this belief, he says, it breeds also, he says here, it breeds also a person's behavior. It returns back to the same thing when a person believes in Yawm al-Qiyamah. If you believe and you constantly make dhikr that there's a day when you're held accountable for, it calls a person to behave a certain way. So they constantly remembering, so they think about Yawm al-Qiyamah, every action they do, they pause, think, and then they respond after that. He brings a hadith here where some of the people said, well, since everything is written, or they heard this hadith, قال ما منكم من أحد إلا وقد كتب مقعده من النار ومقعده من الجنة. The Prophet ﷺ said, there's not one of you except that his seat in paradise has already been written for him, and his seat in the hellfire has already been written for him. Right? So they said, Ya Rasulullah, أَفَلَا نَتَّكِلُ عَلَى كِتَابِنَا وَنَدَعُ الْعَمَلِ. Well, they said, Messenger of Allah, well, can't we just depend on our book, whatever's in our book? We won't have to do any actions. If it's already written, then what are we doing actions for? Right? قَالَ اِعْمَلُوا فَكُلٌّ مُبَشِّرٌ لِمَا خُلِقَ لَهُ. He said, perform your actions, do your actions. Don't just leave off actions and say, well, it's already written. That's not how the Prophet ﷺ behaved, nor the Sahaba. And the Prophet ﷺ knew that his past sins were forgiven and his future sins. And he still stood at night in a voluntary prayer, not an obligatory prayer. So it's not from the belief of the people of the Sunnah to say, well, something is written in the book, we won't have to do any action. Whatever it is, it's going to be. That's not what the Prophet ﷺ taught, and that's not what he taught the Sahaba, and that's not what the Sahaba taught. The Prophet ﷺ said, اعملوا فكل مبشر لما خلق له. Every person is going to get what's written for him. أما من كان من أهل السعادة فيبشر لعمل أهل السعادة. The person who's going to go to the hellfire is going to be easy for him, and those actions are going to be easy for him to go to the paradise. And also the person for the hellfire, those actions become easy. That's why the Imams of the past, they didn't think, and even the Sahaba, they didn't take the attitude like, they were cool. They had nice names, Muslim names, mashallah. They had Islamic garments, gear. They looked good, so they thought they were cool. They didn't do actions. That's not how they were. And to the Prophet ﷺ, Aisha radiallahu anha asked him, because he was standing praying till his ankles were swollen. So she asked him, why are you standing like that when your past sins and your future sins are already forgiven? The Prophet ﷺ, he still stood until his ankles were swelled. And he said, should I not be a thankful servant? So it's not from Islam that a person says, it's going to be what it's going to be. Everything is written. I'm going to just do what I'm going to do because it's already written. That's not the proper belief, and that's not the proper course of action for gaining Allah's pleasure. In that hadith, and other ahadith surrounding the topic show the same thing. And we'll stop there, but there's a narration here to show how serious the imams of the past were about Yawm al-Qiyamah and being held accountable. And this athar is in Sir A'lam al-Nubala by Imam al-Dhahabi, rahimahullah. And it says, عن يوسف ابن أسباط قال لي سفيان ناولني المطهرة أتوضأ. He said, a man went to Sufyan, and al-Thawri or Uyayna. There were two Sufyans, Sufyan al-Thawri and Sufyan Uyayna, both imams of the past. The man came to Sufyan, and Sufyan said, hand me the mithara, which is a container of water so I can make wudu with it. Hand me the mithara. فَنَاوَلْتُهُ. Yusuf says, so I gave it to him. فَأَخَذَهَا بِيَمِينِهِ. So he took it with his right hand. He took the container with his right hand, and he said, وَوَضَعَ يَسَارَهُ عَلَى خَدِّهِ. And he put his left hand under his cheek. Sufyan. He took the container with his right hand, and he put his left hand under his cheek. So he says, فَبَقِيَ مُفَكِّرًا. So he sat there thinking, Sufyan. He sat there with the container in his right hand, and his hand under his left cheek. Qadar. Like this. So the man said, Yusuf said, وَنِمْت. So I went to sleep. He said, I went to sleep. ثُمَّ قُمْتُ وَقْتَ الْفَجْرِ. He said, then I got up for Salat al-Fajr. When he left, he gave him the container. He sat there. He said, I went to sleep. I woke up for Salat al-Fajr. فَإِذَا الْمِطْهَرَةُ فِي يَدِهِ كَمَا هِيَ. He said, when I woke up for Salat al-Fajr, the container was still in his hand, in Sufyan's hand, the way I gave it to him last night. He said, فَقُلْتُ هَذَا الْفَجْرِ قَدْ طَلَعَ. He told Sufyan, he said, it's time for Salat al-Fajr. Salat al-Fajr is in, it's time for Fajr. فَقَالَ لَمْ أَزِلْ مُنْذُ تَنَاوَلْتَنِي الْمِطْهَرَ أَتَّفَكَّرُ فِي الْآخِرَةِ حَتَّى السَّاعَةِ. He said, I've been sitting here since last night when you gave me the container. I've been sitting here thinking about Yawm al-Qiyamah. I've been sitting here thinking about Yawm al-Qiyamah. They didn't think because they were imams that they were excused. That they were born Muslims that they were excused. That they've been Muslims for so many they were excused. This is Imam Sufyan, he's an imam. Not a regular imam of a masjid, a big imam of a big time, not. He said he sat there thinking about Yawm al-Qiyamah. And there are many narrations like this. This is just one to show how serious they were. And he sat there all night with a container in his hand and his hand on his cheek, thinking about being held accountable Yawm al-Qiyamah. So we'll stop there, inshallah, and that is the end of the 6 pillars of faith. And we'll start next week, inshallah, ad-dars al-rabi', the 4th lesson of the book, which is aqsam al-tawheed wa aqsam al-shirk. The 4th lesson will be the categories of tawheed, the different categories of tawheed, and the different categories of shirk, putting partners with Allah, inshallah. Any questions? سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.